How do you get 100 math teachers into a room in which only 99 fit? You carry the one. Today, I'm going to recap a 2013 action history film called Age of Uprising: The Legend of Michael Kohlhaas. In the Cevennes, Michael Kohlhaas lives a serene and fulfilling life as a horse breeder, surrounded by his wife Judith and his daughter Lisbeth. However, their tranquility is threatened when Michael decides to sell his horses in the city's marketplace. En route, he encounters a roadblock manned by the regional lord soldiers, under the command of the manager. The pass is under the control of the young baron or the princess, the landowners. The lord's soldiers instruct Michael that he needs a permit, although he has crossed this path on numerous occasions without any documentation. The baron, an unpleasant young man, arrives and instructs his servant to inform Michael that he is interested in purchasing his horses. Michael puts forth a reasonable price, but the baron countering with an insultingly low proposal. The idea of selling his horses for such a price is unthinkable for Michael. The lord's men advise Michael to leave 2 of his black horses as a pledge, promising their return when he obtains the required permit. Michael is not agreeable to this, as he had plans to sell those horses at the fair. The lord threatens Michael with his flintlock pistol, but Michael's courage doesn't waver, which spoils the fun for the ruthless lord, leading him to lower his firearm. Michael is compelled to surrender his horses, entrusting their care to his manservant Caesar until his return. Once in the city, Caesar visits the stables to check on the horses, finding them hard at work and injured. He unburdens them and takes them to the river for a wash. While Caesar is busy caring for the horses, the baron's men accuse him of theft and set their vicious dogs on him. At the same time, Michael has a meeting with the governor, who is taken by the horses Michael is selling. Unaware of Caesar's predicament, Michael returns home, bearing a present for his wife Judith. Judith shares her first impressions of Michael with him, yearning for a touch and admiring his handsomeness. When Michael goes back to the city and sees his injured horses, he wants to know Caesar's whereabouts. The manager falsely claims that Caesar tried to steal the horses and escaped when apprehended, and the horses were put to work to cover their expenses. Michael expresses his disbelief, but the guard responds dismissively. Michael confronts the baron, demanding the return of his horses in the same healthy condition he left them, only to be ignored and shut out. Determined, Michael seeks legal help. The scene switches to Caesar, who is still alive but severely injured from the dog attack. Michael insists on compensation for the damages sustained by him and Caesar. His lawyer enlightens him that the baron has illegally established the roadblock, as the right to toll collection no longer stands. Michael also insists on the restoration of his horses to their original healthy state. In the comfort of his home, Michael assists a mayor in delivering a colt, intending it for his daughter Lisbeth, and anticipates the young one's first steps. Their peaceful moment is interrupted by the lawyer, returning from the court, bearing news that Michael's lawsuit has been denied. As the baron has connections within the court, they face an insurmountable wall of corruption. The lawyer, alarmed for their safety, entreats Michael to distance him from the case and advises him to collect his horses. Judith learns about Michael's plan to appeal his case to the princess against the lawyer's counsel. She suggests going on his behalf, thinking she might be more successful at persuading the princess. Michael reluctantly gives his consent. While Judith is pleading their cause, Michael and Lisbeth are rounding up the horses. They spot Judith's carriage returning hastily from the city. Feeling that something has gone awry, Michael rushes after the carriage, leaving Lisbeth to return on her own. Judith has been brutally assaulted by the princess's men, and eventually she succumbs to her injuries. Following the funeral, Michael sends Lisbeth away with the preacher, vowing to fetch her when everything is settled. Michael then assembles his men, delivering a powerful speech before they march to exact revenge on the Lord for Judith's death. In the biblical context, they are told to forgive their enemies. He makes a plea to God, hoping God does not grant the sort of forgiveness they will show their vile lord. The group raids the castle, decimating the lord's men using crossbows. In the kennels, Caesar finds the manager who had unleashed the dogs on him and exacts his vengeance. The baron, displaying his cowardice, escapes on foot amidst the chaos, and they plan to pursue him. Discontented with the French nobility, some peasants express their wish to align with Michael's cause. Stories of Sir Colhas, a lone man and his horse, standing against the world, circulate far and wide, attracting peasants, criminals, and social outcasts from all over France to join his diverse army. This includes a hefty individual, whose donkey struggles to bear his weight. He brings a pig to offer Caesar as a gift. But Michael, a man of integrity, doesn't take gifts freely. He insists on paying for the pig. Caesar inquires, "Who among you knows how to fight? Who has experienced war before?" He continues to ask them if they're aware of the Lord's harsh treatment towards revolting peasants. Their fingers are severed, their eyes gouged, and they are slowly tortured until their death becomes a mockery. As a former soldier, Caesar assures them of the truth in his words. He selects the robust man to accompany him, asking the other two to return home. The man on the donkey insists he can fight, but backs down when Caesar challenges him to a duel. Despite his lack of fighting skills, he compensates with valuable information about the young lord's hiding place. The lord has sought refuge in a church nearby, disguising himself as a nun. Michael's forces resort to setting the church ablaze to draw the young lord out. Concurrently, the preacher and Lisbeth make their way to the battlefront. The preacher informs Michael about the blossoming flowers adorning Judith's grave, assuring him that no one back home holds him accountable for his decision to wage a war in her memory, as well as for his horses and his rights. A French noble dispatches 2 squads to aid the young lord, but they are intercepted and eliminated by Michael's troops. In the encounter, Caesar loses his life. While Michael is engaged in laying his fallen men to rest, the young lord seizes the opportunity to flee. A soldier from Michael's army is apprehended while pilfering from a neighboring village. Michael admonishes his troops, asserting that warfare doesn't entitle them to seize others' belongings. They must always compensate for what they take. Charging tolls and thievery are the Lord's methods. He promptly executes the offending soldier. Martin Luther, the theologian and a pivotal figure in the Protestant Reformation, confronts Michael's interpretation of justice. He questions whether those Michael is leading into battle comprehend what awaits them, remarking that a gallows awaits him on earth. Michael respectfully responds, expressing his honor at meeting him. Their dialogue continues within Michael's tent, where Luther confesses that he has spent his life trying to persuade nobility not to fear peasants, to allow them to live and flourish harmoniously. Michael's insurrection has only hindered his efforts. Luther advises him to abandon his weapons. Michael agrees to a peace treaty, contingent on the Lord restoring his horses to their previous good health. Luther conveys this to the princess, who promises Michael secure passage so his case can be retried. Should the court discard his lawsuit, he agrees to abide by the law for taking justice into his hands. Alternatively, should the court affirm his righteousness, he and his troops will be pardoned, and he will be granted immunity. Michael commands his troops to relinquish their weapons. Though the declaration of immunity initially sparks celebrations, the bulky man and the rest of Michael's forces feel aimless and uncertain about their path post-war. Michael returns home and is bathing when the princess pays a visit. She attempts to apologize to Lisbeth, confessing that Judith's injuries in her castle were her doing. She informs Michael that she was in the town he had intended to raise before his surrender, and that his forces outnumbered hers. He could have easily claimed more power by eliminating her, so she questions why he accepted the immunity. Michael clarifies that his aim was not to amass power, but only to reclaim what is rightfully his. The princess observes that Michael bears a resemblance to her, in the sense that both of them live by instilling both love and fear. If you induce solely fear, you become despised. If only love, it's interpreted as a weakness. The princess offers a prayer at Judith's grave, promising that Michael will regain his horses, along with compensation for the assaults on Caesar and Judith. The following day, as Michael readies himself to venture into the town to see his horses, a soldier reports that one of his men didn't relinquish his weapon, leading to the murder of 2 nobles and theft of their property. Michael contests that he doesn't have any more troops since they've all surrendered their weapons, but his arguments fall on deaf ears. The princess perceives this as a breach of the amnesty conditions. Under the cover of night and amid thick fog, Michael and Lisbeth manage to elude capture, but are eventually seized by the soldiers and taken for trial. Michael finds himself confined to a prison, but thanks to the princess's intervention, he is spared from being tortured, flayed, or burned. In a conversation with the preacher, Michael conveys that the certainty is the most tormenting part. Each day, he is one step closer to reuniting with Judith, yet increasingly distanced from Lisbeth. It's not death that distresses him, but the definite knowledge of the date, time, and method of his execution that proves unbearable. Michael is presented before the court, where he is given back his horses in a healthy state, as was agreed upon. The compensation for Cesar, as well as for his wife, are also issued. In contrast, the young lord is let off with a mild punishment, 2 years of imprisonment for his actions. Michael has finally gotten what he sought. Lisbeth is infuriated by the fact that Michael is ready to become a martyr for his principles, leaving her alone. She refrains from conversing with him, expressing only her desire to leave. Following this, the governor pronounces a death sentence on Michael, and he readies himself for the executioner's fatal swing, thus drawing this epic narrative to its end. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.